Alright, how's it going everybody? My name is Infamous Isaac and I'm here with the video on the NieR Automata anime. It came out in the fall of 2022, but due to certain restrictions, it didn't finish until July of 2023. And so that's why I didn't make a video on it, because I did start watching it when it got announced. But because of that, I didn't finish it until I heard, oh shoot, this is done. I didn't even realize it just shadow dropped basically. So I am going to give my non-spoiler and spoiler thoughts on this anime. So without further ado, let's begin. So a little context for the non-spoiler review. This anime is based on a game that came out in 2017, right? And the game was so popular that it got its own anime adaptation, as you can see here. And so if you're worried about having to play the game before watching the anime, you don't have to, but it would be nice to have that knowledge because this anime differs at some points from the game. But the anime does a good job on its own, adding its own spice while sticking to the source material, so you don't have to worry about needing background knowledge on what's going on. The show itself, though, since most of it is based on the game, it's pretty by the book, so for someone like me who has seen the game before, I basically know what's going on for most of it, but when I do get surprised by the sudden shifts and turns, it's like, oh shoot, this is kind of cool, you know? How is it going to be different? But for the most part, if you like 2B and just NieR Automata in general, you're gonna like this show. If you don't know who that is, then don't worry, you're gonna learn and may like her. The story's good. The animation is amazing. If you want to watch this show, I would highly recommend it just for the animation because it is beautiful looking. The characters are great. If you know them from the game, you're gonna like them here. They're just expounded upon more. We get more moments to see what they're really like. The music, the sound design, all of that's pretty good. Because this show had such a long gap between the first half and the second half of this season, it's just made it so hard to keep investment throughout the second half of the season, you know? And that sucks too because there was only 4 episodes left. We were basically almost done when the show stopped. And when it came back, it felt like, oh shoot, it just lost so much steam, you know? On top of that, for me personally, because I already know the story for the most part, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I still remember enough to remember what's gonna happen in the future and what's happening now. So it hindered me a little bit. It's like, oh shoot, this is happening. All right, cool. Just waiting to see what's really new. But for most people, that's not gonna be the case because you can watch it now in its entirety. And also, the second half of the season is going to be announced the same way like Spy X Family did it, where it's like Core 1 and Core 2, or Bleach, for example. Plus, a lot of people do like the NieR series, so if they see that another part of it is coming out, then maybe they'll be able to come back to it, so that this show can really get some steam behind it. But overall, for me, this show is a 6.5 to a 7. I wish I could have enjoyed it more, but I feel like the second half of the season will probably deliver that enjoyment that I'm looking for. Because I know I'm waiting for certain parts of the game to be animated and see how they're treated or if they're going to be different, you know. But now I'm going to move on to the spoiler section. So, as per usual, if you don't want to be spoiled for NieR Automata, I suggest leaving now, going watching it, and if you want to come back, the video is always here. If you haven't played the game, I either suggest watching the anime and then playing it, or playing the game and then watching the anime. It's up to you. And for some context, the show aired around the winter of 2022, but it didn't finish until July of 2023 this year. And the reason for that is because of COVID. COVID delayed it, so the last 4 episodes, so episodes 9 through 12, couldn't release fully. There was a lot of COVID delays and stuff like that, so it never got to finish concretely like any other seasonal run. But it's really unfortunate the circumstance that this show had to go through to release. I'm gonna try as fairly as possible to just go through it and talk about it. So without further ado, let's begin. So this show for the most part just goes alongside the game for a good majority of it, but the differences start showing up where you see more characters get attention, like the resistance camp. There's some new characters added and overall just a story expanded in there. Because I know the game would talk about the resistance camp because you would frequent there a lot, the same way that the show does too. But more characters just get expanded upon and you get to learn more lore and everything like that. But the differences that I started noticing the most were like around episodes 9 through 12, funnily enough. Because in the game, you have Adam die, but in here, you have Eve die. And so that leads to different types of outcomes in that scenario. And if there's any more differences that I missed, then let me know down in the comments because it's been a while since I've seen the story for NieR Automata. That's definitely one thing that I was excited for when this anime got announced, was just whether or not if they were gonna make a faithful rendition A to B, this is what the story is like, and if they were gonna include any of the extra endings. Because NieR Automata is a pretty big game, so having an anime for it makes sense and it's super exciting. Because it's like Persona 4 Golden, how that got an anime. And the recap essentially goes as follows. You have 2B show up at the factory with all the robots and all that, and then you have 9S show up as well. It gets to be too much, so they use their black boxes and then they die. And then they show up again in the bunker, and that's where you see them follow the events of the game. And scattered throughout these events, like from episode 1 through 8, detail and lore on the resistance camp and robots that we may not have gotten to see, or maybe they were detailed in the game, it's just like written out or something in notes, but we just get to see things expounded upon better in animation that maybe we wouldn't have seen in the game, you know? Then episode 9 through 12, like I said, with Eve being the one to die instead of Adam, we have Adam be that final boss of this route. We see 9S get corrupted as well, and then we see 2B have to kill him, basically kill Adam and 9S. But then 9S's data is still backed up in a robot, so it's like, oh, he's fine, it's whatever. After that, we get a preview of the bonus stuff that's going to come in the second season, or at least the second part of this show. So the animation was great, the voice acting was amazing, the characters were quirky, they were enjoyable, they each had their own personality, so that was good. The story is what I expected, so I'm not really going to complain about it. But because it was what I expected, I wasn't really surprised, except for when they diverted a little bit. But the changes weren't anything that blew my mind away, you know? So that's why I gave it like a 6.5 to a 7, because it's pretty standard. So if you want to give it a shot, if you're interested in it, I don't want to dissuade people from doing that. For sure, go for it. But this is more just what I came away with it after the end of it. But I'm definitely gonna cover part 2 when it comes out, so be on the lookout for that when that releases, because I definitely will be. Hopefully the COVID restrictions won't be as tight or lethal as it was for this one, because again, me and Reaper, we both want this show to get as much attention as possible because it's a good looking show. Like, it deserves to get attention for sure. And overall, the story of NieR Automata is a good story to go through, you know? So I definitely want as many people as possible to see it. But so a couple of moments that I didn't mention in this recording from the anime were like the robot tending to his garden, or 2B and 9S when they're in the underwater city and they take off their mask, and we get to see just how beautiful their faces look, and overall just how beautiful the anime looks in general. There's moments like Adam and Eve when they're at the table together. It looks like the Last Supper table, and they're just chilling. And Eve is just like, "Let's play together sometime, brother." It's just really wholesome. You also have the resistance camp members, where we get to learn the story behind them and how there was a 2B looking robot like her in that resistance, and just the story behind all that. And there's more that I'm missing, but like at least every episode has something that is poignant or expands the game in some way, and it just enhances the experience. So if anybody who played the game or seen the game wants to check this out, again, I would highly recommend it because it just adds so much more flavor to that sandwich. So I hope y'all enjoyed. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video. I had to cover this because I realized that it finished in July and it's already like early August, so I wanted to finish that. But next, hopefully, we're going to be moving on to some Guardians of the Galaxy. So until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.